Hello, can you hear me? Okay, you're not even in the. Can hear me? Type yes in the chat session. Good afternoon. If you can hear me, please type yes in the chat session. All right, thank you. So good afternoon once again. I welcome you all to this session. I'd like to announce to you all that this session is powered by P4PE Institute. P4PE Institute provides cutting-edge solutions, and as you can see on my screen, we have business solutions, HR solutions, career solutions, and entrepreneurial solutions. As you all know, having strong emotional intelligence skills helps us manage ourselves better, and it also helps us relate better with people around us. Today, Mrs. Boma Sage will be sharing a whole lot to us about EI and how we can manage our emotions. Before we start the session, I would like to share a few things about her. Mrs. Boma Sage holds a BSc in chemistry, and she also possesses very strong organizational and administrative skills. She has a deep knowledge of products and business concepts relevant to the finance service industry and the education sector. She has gathered about 28 years work experience from the banking sector, as you can see, from the oil and gas sector, from the entrepreneurial sector and the nonprofit organization, And she's also a member of the UNESCO initiative, and she's also a member of Project Management Institute, a member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, CIPM, and a fellow of the Mentoring, Coaching, and Developmental Institute. She also sits on the school board of SITA International School. This is just a few of all the things she does. We decided to cut it short because of our time. I'd like you all to know that she'll be running through all these focus areas. Kindly pay attention and mute yourself so you can hear her clearly. This session and promises to be insightful, and I believe that by the time we are done, everybody will have one or two things to hold on to. If you have any question, type it in the chat session. When she's done, she'll attend to them. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mrs. Boom. Hello, Ma, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Damilare. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to say thank you to P4PE for giving me this opportunity to speak about emotional intelligence again. It's an honor. I am humbled. And I also want to thank all of you who took time off. This is lunchtime, but you've taken time off your lunchtime to come and discuss emotional intelligence. You might wonder why we're speaking about this. I mean, I've heard about emotional intelligence from other platforms and other programs, but you see, it is a very vital, it's a very vital skill that you must develop in your relationships, in your place of work, everywhere. As far as you relate with human beings, you must understand the concept of emotional intelligence and also understand how to gather skills and practice emotional intelligence. So I'm going to share some slides with you now and stick to the focus areas, so that we'll have enough time for questions. So for those of us who have no idea what emotional intelligence is, it's just basically, the ability to recognize your own emotions, first of all, and then once you are aware of your emotions and you can manage your emotions, you also demonstrate ability to empathize with other people, at the same time. Now, some people are of the opinion that in getting educated, total education, is a combination of your academics and a good knowledge of emotional intelligence. And I'll share a bit of, why it is so. If we have teachers amongst us, I don't know if there's anyone here who has been exposed to the Montessori system. In Montessori, especially if you're teaching atypical children are those children that, are have special needs, that is either in autism or Downs or muscular dystrophy or dyslexia, children along those lines. You'll find out that emotional intelligence is one skill you need to teach these children. And you see, Montessori is a very unique system. The system of Montessori was actually, put together from teaching atypical children. And, as we talk about emotional intelligence, you will come to realize that a lot, plays, a lot is important here. From your body language to the tone of your voice to, the way you perceive people and the way you understand people. So total education, yes, is a combination of both. If you are just all academics, and no emotional intelligence, you will now understand why, it's difficult to flow with people. And let's look at some history. For emotional intelligence goes back as far as Aristotle. Some of you would have heard about Aristotle, the Greek philosopher. He made a lot of claims about emotional intelligence. He claimed that, where we appropriate our emotions, we achieve good life. He also made another claim about schooling our emotions, such that, we achieve moral education. And you see why I said in my first slide that total education is a combination of emotional intelligence and academics. It is tied to Aristotle's claims. And after Aristotle, in 1985, a man called Wayne Payne was the first to express emotional intelligence in his dissertation thesis. That was the first time we ever heard the term. Soon after that, by the way, a lot of people, have done a lot of work in emotional intelligence. I've just tried to abridge, my findings, so that we can discuss some more. We have more time to discuss some more. So in 1990, two other persons, Peter Salovey and John Mayer, defined emotional intelligence. Wayne Payne expressed it in his dissertation, but Peter and John
12
defined
8
it.
equals 20. 35 plus 5 equals
Sorry about that, please.
30.
Peter Salovey and John Mayer
8 equals 40.
defined emotional intelligence. And then in 1995,
equals 40.
Daniel Goleman popularized emotional intelligence. Okay. The same Daniel Goleman in the 2000s was eventually regarded as the emotional intelligence guru. So you see that so many people, have done a lot of work, in this regard. And eventually in 2016, Peter Salovey, John Mayer, and David Caruso developed, a test kit known as the MSCEIT or MEIS test kit for emotional intelligence. Now let's look at the components of emotional intelligence. What is involved here, is basically understanding yourself first. Okay, you cannot understand another person until you understand yourself. So in the first box here, I have self-awareness. And, self-awareness, is achieved when you self-SWOT. I'll explain what self-SWOTing is. You take time out, you take a piece of paper, you take a pen, you sit down, and you talk to yourself, tell yourself what you know how to do. Those are your strengths. You also talk to yourself and find out what you cannot do or what you cannot do well. Those are your weaknesses. On the same piece of paper, find out what you feel you can do to harness your strengths and what you should not do at all, to magnify your weaknesses. By the time you do that, you achieve self-awareness. You have an idea of who you are, you have an idea of, what you can do, what you shouldn't do, and what you should avoid, who you should avoid, where you shouldn't go, and then you have enough information to now manage yourself. Okay, so the first step to emotional intelligence is understanding yourself. As soon as you understand yourself and you can now manage yourself, you are ready to understand, people around you. That is social awareness. And, I don't know, some of you would have encountered people that do not understand you, no matter how much you try to speak to them, no matter how much you try to team play at work, no matter how much you try to share and flow with them, there's some communication gap, between yourself and these other persons, But you see, sometimes, you get these results because you haven't really understood yourself. You haven't really taken time to understand who you are. So the first step to achieving emotional intelligence skills is understanding yourself. I'll give you an example, Some of you might say, why? Why do we need to do this? I mean, I know myself. If you take a place like Lagos, a lot of us wake up in the morning, we just immediately our alarm clocks go off. We have already started for the day. You get ready for work, you rush into the traffic, you get to work, you approach your tasks at work, and then at the end of the day, you're in traffic again and you come back. You find out that we're just breezing through life and everything is done in a hurry and in a rush. So we cannot, really take time to understand ourselves. Growing up, I remember, one or two mentors, had shared that before you turn in for the night, do some self-stock, take stock of your day, and try and see what you should have done better. That is another way of getting to know yourself. That is another approach to self-awareness. So you see, we've been passing through life too quickly. We haven't taken time to understand who we are. You might say you know yourself, but honestly, if you take time to do some self-awareness exercise, you'll find out that there's still so much about you to discover. So once you do that, you can manage yourself. And you see, in managing yourself, it is with respect to the people around you. Someone upsets you because you know your weakness. You know what you should not do at that time. Somebody affirms you, you know how to respond. You respond in such a way that, there's a balance between yourself and the people around you. You win a lottery, you're not loud about it because you have understood your weaknesses concerning this lottery, okay? And it goes on and on and on. And immediately you achieve self-awareness and self-management, you will find that you will automatically develop skills to manage people much, much better. Now, there are different ways of assessing emotional intelligence. There are three major ways. You have the self-reports, you have other reports, and okay, sorry, I have four here. Well, I added the fourth one, which is not it's not a validated test, but it's a test discovered by one of the founding fathers of emotional intelligence, Goleman. So I know I just noted it here, but it's not a validated test. It's more like a quiz. Something you do in your at your downtime. So there are three main assessments. And I'll just run through them briefly. For self-reports, you're exposed to a set of questions. I know you've come across some questions that have responses like very true, not so true, somewhat true. Okay. Now the self-report, is based on personality traits and tells you a lot about yourself, but it has drawbacks because you are the assessor, and most of the time the results from these reports are not exactly objective. The other reports is just subjecting the self-report to observers, like in your office. If this set of questions are given to your colleagues, they're answering these questions and responding to you or to whoever is assessing. But the most valid measure is the most valid assessment is the ability measures. And the ability measures, we have one called the multi-factor emotional intelligence scale. Apparently, it is the only ability measures test in existence so far. And it is the most reliable and the most used because it measures a combination of abilities or skills. Emotional intelligence is about skills now and abilities. So ability measures is the best approach to assessing emotional intelligence. For emotional intelligence, I just want to run through these questions with you. There is an award-winning co-author of a bestseller called Emotional Intelligence 2.2. So at your own time, you could look for the book on Amazon or anywhere you source your books, and read about what he has said here. He has shared that if you have high emotional intelligence, you have the following. He shared 18 signs. So I'll just run through them quickly. You have a robust emotional vocabulary. What it means is that you become so aware of yourself that you're not afraid, to say how you feel. I feel terrible. I feel sad. I feel overwhelmed. Okay. Your emotional vocabulary is rich. And you see, self-awareness is not something you do once. Self-awareness is something you do continuously. And as you continuously self-aware, you find out that you can express who you are. You can express how you feel. You can express how you do not feel too. Okay. So another sign is your strengths and your weaknesses. And I've said here, this when you self-SWOT continuously. You are difficult to offend. There are some people that are very, very hot-tempered, like they will say, And if you are, you need to self-aware. You need to go and find out why you're hot-tempered. There's probably something that makes you, get defensive, So you need to find out why. But Dr. Berry says if you have high emotional intelligence, you're not difficult. You're difficult to offend. You let go of mistakes. You neutralize toxic people. I found that one very, very interesting. And you disconnect from work, to live. Finally, you won't let anyone limit your joy. So you see, it's a very interesting, concept to life. It is also more interesting when you allow yourself, to get involved, when you allow yourself to practice it. And I want to end by saying, when an individual regulates his thoughts, feelings, and actions, he contributes great value to his emotional intelligence and achieves good life, as Aristotle claimed. So I'm going to stop here. I have rushed so that we have more time to take questions. So Damilare, I hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ma. If you have questions, kindly type them in the chat section, or you can unmute yourself and talk. Kindly type your questions or concerns in the chat section so that Mrs. Boma can attend to them. Thank you very much.
Okay, I have one question here. From Joel, all right. Is emotional intelligence more important than intelligence quotient? Yes, Joel. Emotional intelligence is more important than intelligence quotient. You see, intelligence quotient is just academics, like I stated, but, and you cannot use just academics to relate with people, okay? When you consider emotional intelligence, you're considering, you consider more. You consider feelings, you consider emotions, you consider choices, you consider decisions. But intelligence quotient is just facts. And I want to state here that intelligence quotient is what most of us confuse for emotional intelligence. Okay, you meet a person that is say fat. Okay, the first thing you say is, you're too fat. You find out that you're not going to draw value from that person after you've said that, even if you were joking. Okay, but you see, when you practice emotional intelligence, you find out that you have, like I said, you have schooled yourself. You've come to understand that fat people get very sensitive when you say such things to them. Okay, so you empathize. Okay, instead of focusing on the person's weight, you focus on what the person, you focus on something else that will draw value, something else that will assist you bond, that will assist you, rapport. Okay, so emotional intelligence, yes, is more important, you see, because emotional intelligence will assist you network better, will assist you bond better, will assist you, it takes you further, okay? And with emotional intelligence, the person you are relating with, immediately responds to you because they can see that you are making conscious effort to be sensitive to their needs, to their own feelings. But you can't achieve that much with intelligence quotient. Okay. I don't know if I've answered your question, Joel. Let me see. There's another question here. It says, Mark, can we take
There's
the
another
personality?
question, yes.
Okay. Can we take the free personality test? Well, for personality tests, yes, there are so many. It depends on the one you want. You can log in and you can log into Google and select the one you wish to participate in. There are many tests. So yes, you can take the free personality test. Thank you very much for the presentation. How can one improve the emotional intelligence behaviors in the workplace as a human resource officer? The first thing you should do is teach, the staff to self-SWOT. Okay, I'll just do a small demonstration. Tell them to get a piece of paper. They draw a big square. Okay, and then something like this. I don't know if you can see it, but once they do this, you have S for strengths, W for weaknesses, um, 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 T for threats, and then P for opportunities. Okay, and then you take time. Tell them to do it quietly. They take time and tell themselves, what can I do well? The person asking is Victor. What, or who asked me this question? I think it's okay. What can Mary do? What can I, Mary, do very well? You put it in the strength box. Like I don't play football. I don't like football. I don't know how to enjoy football. So it's a weakness. I put it in my own box of weaknesses. Okay. There is another, some people don't know how to cook very well. Even though you're a woman, if you don't know how to cook very well and it's a weakness, put it down there. I don't know how to cook very well, okay? Or I talk too much, put it down in the weakness box. What do I know how to do very well? I'm very organized. If you come to my house, I'm very tidy, okay? I don't like filth, I don't like clutter. You put it down, that's your strength, okay? Then you now check, this weakness of talking too much, how do I curb it? How do I stop it? Okay? How do I stop it? You know? And you tell yourself, maybe I should stop going to people that, make me talk too much. Maybe I should reduce my friends. So you put it down under threats. You now know what to stop, you now know what you will do to stop yourself from talking too much. The weakness of not being able to cook. What opportunities do I expose myself? How do I get to know how to cook? You have to start by going to the market first, isn't it? Start by purchasing, go and learn how to purchase the ingredients first of all, know how much the ingredients are. That's an opportunity. So when you expose yourself to the market, it is an opportunity. You put it in the opportunity box. And then you now encourage them and tell them that, look, you have to do this every day. Or anytime you have downtime, you do this so that, nobody, at every point in time, you know what you can do, you know what you cannot do. And you find out that the result of, self-swatting prepares you. Nothing takes you unawares. If somebody comes to you and says, you are this, you are so, you are that, you laugh at yourself. You say, yes, I don't know how to cook. It is not because I have not tried. I just don't know how to cook. You understand? That is what Dr. Berry was saying. You're not easily offended. You can't get upset because you've self-swatted. You've done it. You've checked. You've confronted it. If it has been a demon all your life, you finally agree with yourself that I don't know how to cook, okay? Or I talk too much. So nobody can. If anybody says it to you, you don't consider it an insult or an abuse because you have confronted it. So as a HR officer, if you make it a practice, you can, I don't know, depending on the schedule you have in your office, if you factor it into your schedule and you encourage people to self-swat as often as they can, you find out that it will improve their emotional intelligence skills, okay? It will improve bonding, you will reduce disputes, you will reduce a lot of melee in the workplace, okay? This is Victor. And then I have another question here from Jane Jess. Please, how do you express when people don't seem to understand you? Well, when people don't seem to understand you, let me start by saying that there's no rule. How you express is a function of how far you have self-swatted, how far you have achieved self-awareness, okay? The way I will express might not agree with the way you will express, okay? So you have to go and discover yourself. I might be quiet. You might wonder why I am quiet, because somebody did not understand me, and you might decide to react. You might take the person up and say, what do you mean? Okay, but what emotional intelligence is saying is that once you discover yourself, you will find out that you will react better, okay? It's not going to be adverse. You will not react adversely. You will react constructively. You will react in such a way that, you will pull value from the person and pull more value from yourself. So how you express when people don't seem to understand you is a function of how far or how many times you self-swat, which will help you, discover yourself. That is, achieve self-awareness. Okay. I don't know if I've answered that, Jane. There's another question here. Thank you very much for your, please. Oh, sorry, I'm going. Let me see. Naturally, I'm a quiet person. And often people try to take advantage of me. Nevertheless, I've grown to the point where I'm not scared of telling people how I feel about how they treat me, but whilst expressing myself, I realize that people get upset when I speak up about my feelings. in such situations, what do? I will refer you back to self-swatting. You need to go and discover yourself again because you sound like you're on the defensive. When you're practicing emotional intelligence, you find out that most of the time you pick your battles, okay? People can think what they want to think, okay? And when I say so, I don't say that in spite, out of spite. I say that, you know, to encourage you, okay? Sometimes the best way to fight, you know, is to keep quiet. You don't need to react, okay? So if people don't understand you, there's a disconnect somewhere. People don't understand you because you don't understand people. So you need to take time out and go work on yourself again. That is what emotional intelligence is advocating. It's about you first. If you don't understand yourself, you can't connect with other people, okay? So that is what I suggest you should do. Once you achieve self-awareness, you will develop better skills to get people to understand people first. And once you understand people, they will understand you as well. They will understand you better as well. What do you recommend as a good way of handling manipulators or passive aggressive people? What do you recommend as a method of dealing with codependency? It's all the same thing. It's the same thing, okay? You have to go back, and when you say handling manipulators or passive, let me tell you something about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence will enable you to flow with anybody. It's that potent, okay? It will enable you to flow with anybody. So these manipulators, passive aggressive people, you will immediately know what to say. You will immediately know what to do, but you have to go and discover yourself first. It's a difficult exercise, but a very necessary one, okay? You have to sit down, find some time. You don't even need more than 5 minutes. Find some time. Why am I angry? Why do these manipulators seem to have their way with me? Don't always perceive it as the other person's problem. Sometimes it's your problem, okay? Why do I have to deal with codependency? Why can't I just be independent? Why can't I just function on my own? Okay? So you need to sit down and check yourself. Once you do, you find out that you have better results, okay? Whether passive, whether aggressive, you'll manage them better. Once EI determines if the person reacts or responds to issue, yes, Onye. Once EI determines if the person reacts or responds to issues. So it's left for us to develop high EI. Somebody, Victor says, please, I did not get your response to this question. Which question is that, Victor? The one about HR. I said you have to engage them in self-swatting. As they self-swat, they become more
No, the second one, ma, not the
Sorry,
first
which
one.
one?
Hello, Ma. You left out some questions after Jane Jess.
After Jane, oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let me go back.
Okay.
Victor, okay. What is your personal strategy and other recommendations? Is that it? Is that it, Victor?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
the
ma'am,
question.
that's it.
All right. Okay.
Yes,
What
that's the
is your
second
personal
question.
strategy? Okay, and other recommendations, if any, of handling frustrations and depressions, both in the office and at home. For depression, you haven't discovered yourself, Victor. I'll be blunt. You haven't discovered who you are, because once you know who you are, you can't be depressed. You come to terms with a lot of things. I told you, what you can do, you can do. What you cannot do, you cannot do, and you don't kill yourself. Depression is always tied to what you have accepted you cannot do. Probably what is not even good for you. Okay? So you haven't discovered yourself if you are depressed. For frustration, there's something you're not doing right. You're probably in the wrong place doing the right thing, or you're doing the right thing in the wrong place. Okay? So it's all tied to self-awareness. You still need to go back and check, okay? Have I answered your question now?
Yes, no, thank you very much.
All right. Oh yeah, thank you again. Amazing point. Self-awareness first. Thank you for, yes, self-awareness. It's a lot of work, but it is very, very necessary. And honestly, it is the key to happiness. Okay. A lot of us don't want to admit to ourselves that, we are this and not that. You find out that a lot of us are living other people's lives. We are living in other people's shoes. We are doing things that we feel we ought to do because, that is the norm. That is what society accepts. I want to, appeal to you. If you're living that way, you need to take a break now, sit down, rediscover yourself, and start afresh. Otherwise, like Victor highlighted, you're headed for serious frustration and depression. Okay, you don't need to do it because your neighbor is doing it. And another thing we do, especially in this country, you always want to prove a point. If you are struggling very hard to prove a point, then you still don't know who you are. Okay, you find out that in developed countries, they are happy. Why are they happy? The person that leaves high school and wants to drive the school bus is driving it because he has come to accept that that is what he wants to do. Okay, you make fun of him, you're on your own because he has come to accept it. This is me. The one that wants to play football plays it. He doesn't even need, you find out that some of them don't even need, their parents' blessings. You only know that the parents did not, approve of this football until they start making the money. You understand? The one that just wants to sell fish in a fish shop sells it. The one that decides to do groceries will do it. Okay? But here, you find out that, you're afraid to express who you are. And that is what emotional intelligence is preaching. Okay? You feel that, there's a certain standard you must embrace. That is why you'll be frustrated or depressed. And that's why we're talking about this today. Okay, that is why it is so important in the world today. That is why emotional intelligence is so highly regarded today. What it is telling you is that specialize, okay, stand out, be the individual you ought to be. Don't be afraid of expressing who you are. And you can only get to that point, when you self-SWOT. Come to terms with who you are. Okay, I don't know how to do this. So if somebody says, look at you, look at how you are writing, you say, you laugh at yourself. It's not an insult. Okay, you don't regard it as a problem because they haven't told you anything new. Okay, if you decide to, let me go a step further and get personal. Our relationships are crumbling because of a lack of EI. What we say to each other, what we do to each other. Those of us that are married, you say what you hear outside your marriage to your spouse. You understand? You do what you see outside your marriage. Understand what I mean? I don't want to be explicit, but EI, drives value. You have to understand that. And until we understand that, look, this is what we need to do to achieve high EI or standard EI, we're going to continue as very unhappy people. Okay, whether in the office, whether at home, whether while you're hustling, as a hustler, one thing I want to highlight here is, if you can't do a particular job, self-SWOT yourself. If you can't do this job, tell the person you are doing it for, I don't know how to do it too. You understand? Don't try and do it and then fail. Okay? Don't try and do it and then fail. Once you admit that I'm not too good in this area, don't be afraid. Maybe your honesty will bring you another job. You understand? So this is something that I personally do not play. I don't play with at all. If Joel calls me and says, Boma, will you do this? I'll say, Joel, I don't know how to do it. So I'm not afraid to say I don't know how to do it. Maybe you should ask Gloria, or maybe you should ask Damilari, or call Tunji. Tunji is better. you find out that, there's some confidence you exude for admitting that you don't know. But if it is the one I know, Joel, look, if you make sure you don't make sure that thing does not pass me, sure you know, because this is my core competence. I know how to do it too. Just make sure my name is on that list, So the one you know how to do, you will strive to do it. The one you don't know how to do, you leave it. You just say, look, let me not go and spoil work for you people. You understand? I'm trying to be as down to earth as possible, so that you understand why one person will want to fight on the streets and the other person will walk away. There is a difference. The person that walks away is not weak, or the person that chooses to keep quiet is not weak. That person is responding with respect to himself. And if you check, like they will say, quiet people, you need to be careful. Why? Because somebody has seen a quiet person react, isn't it? So it's okay, let me take there's another question here. It says a lot of people are living up to people's expectations and trying to show people that they've arrived. It's not necessary. You don't need to do that. Like I said before, you don't need to do that. You need to discover who you are, because you find out that people that are living up to people's expectations are extremely unhappy people. Okay, all the energy you put into your time, all the energy you put into your life is to live another person's life. It must be very, 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 very depressing, to do that. So you don't need to do that. Okay, find out what you enjoy doing. If you enjoy going fishing, go fishing. Don't be ashamed. Maybe because of you, other people too will come out and go and fish. You understand what I mean? It could be that extraordinary. I don't want to call it. It's not people that fish. I mean, Indians are in our waters fishing, and they're making a lot of money. Okay, and then someone else says sometimes silence is also a response. Yes, and that is because you have discovered that it is a function. That reaction agrees with your self-awareness. Okay, silence agrees with your self-awareness. If you find out that to curb your weakness is to keep quiet, then fine, you react so. But you don't react because you don't react by keeping silent because you saw another person keep silent. It might not work for you. Okay? Your reaction is tied to the self-awareness exercise you have subjected yourself to. Once you do that, you will automatically garner skills to relate, better with people. So I don't know if anybody has anything to say. I'm ready to learn. If you want to say anything, please share. Okay, one more question. Please, I want to ask a question. Why is it that nowadays emotional intelligence is equated with being political correct and psychophancy? It's wrong. Emotional intelligence is not, being politically correct, or it's not psychophancy. Psychophancy is totally out of it. You're a psychophant when you have refused to self-swat. Okay? Psychophants hide under complexes. They hide under a lot of fear. Okay? That is why we are saying that you should self-swat. Okay? Once you self-swat, you don't need to be a psychophant in your office. You don't need to. Okay? Because psychophancy does not yield value. Psychophancy creates a lot of, everything but value in the especially in the workplace. Even in families, you have psychopaths. Okay, so it's tied to fear. It's tied to a lot of complicated things. Okay, so self-swat. Once you self-swat, you don't need to play politics. You don't need to be a psychopath. You go to work. You make the office environment or the home environment as conducive as possible. That is, you contribute value when you operate with emotional intelligence. Okay, so they're not the same thing, Chinedu. So I don't know if anybody wants to say anything. I'm ready to learn. If you have any comments, unmute your mic and share, please. We have 16 minutes and then it's lunchtime. So the intention was not to keep anybody here longer than necessary, but, to ensure that you live with value. So if you have anything to say, anyone, feel free or mute your mic and please share. Okay. Or should I call somebody? Okay, let me go to the participants list and I will call somebody that I'm sure. Believer Blessing Jonah Lever. You want to say something? Is Believer Blessing Jonah Lever with us? Did I pronounce your name well?
Yes, you did, ma'am.
All right. Okay.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
I actually joined in late, so I don't have anything to contribute.
Okay, when you joined, tell me what you heard when you joined.
You were when I joined, it was when you were talking about the SWOT test just now. Just like, it's not up to 5 minutes I joined. I missed the timing, so I just rushed in.
Okay, let me run through it again.
Okay.
A self-SWOT is the first step to achieving self-awareness. Okay, the first thing you achieve in emotional intelligence is self-awareness. You have to get to know yourself first, and then as soon as you come to terms with who you are, you develop social skills to relate with other people. Because the whole idea behind emotional intelligence is your action or reaction is actually tied to the next person. Okay, so you need to self-SWOT. Self-SWOTing helps you achieve self-awareness. So with that, I want you to say something. Have you ever self-SWOTed?
No, ma, I have not.
Okay, so
I actually don't know what I need to do to self-SWOT.
Okay, I did this. I'm going to show it to you again. You get a piece of paper, okay? And you draw a box. Can you see the box?
Yes, ma'am.
Then you divide the box into 4 quadrants. Okay, in one box you write your strengths, that's the S. In another box you write your weaknesses, that's W. And then you write the opportunities that will help you harness your strengths, and then your threats. Okay, and then what I want you to do is do this as many times. If you do it before you go to bed, fine. If you do it when you wake up in the morning, fine. But do it as many times as possible. What you want to do is ask yourself, Believer, what can I do very well? Don't lie to yourself, okay? And I shared before you joined that even if you're a woman and you don't know how to cook, put it down as your weakness. Come to terms with it. Then how do you solve that weakness? You go to the market first, isn't it? You come to terms with ingredients, okay? At least find out where they are sold and how much they cost, okay? That will ginger your interest to know how to cook. Sometimes in the market, the people that are selling these ingredients will also tell you what to do with them, okay? So even if it is that, write it down. I don't know how to cook. You don't need to be afraid or to be, to be scared. You don't need to shy away from admitting that you don't know how to cook. Some women don't know how to cook. It's okay. All right. Then there's some men that know how to cook. And then we have chefs today. If that's what you know how to do, say it. I hear some men are considered to be sissies if they say they know how to cook. And I find that very, very interesting. Okay. And then that's your weakness. What will prevent you from cooking? You need to avoid it. Okay, how come you have not learned how to cook up till this point in your life? Arrest that thing or that person or that situation and avoid it. That is your self-SWOT. So once you achieve this self-SWOT, you have achieved self-awareness. And automatically, immediately you come close to anybody, you will know what to do. Do you understand? You will know what to say. You will know how to say it. If the person is angry at you because you've self-SWOTed, nothing will surprise you, okay? You will immediately know that this is what I should say, this is what I should do around this person, okay? So that's the self-SWOT. Okay, see someone here, Faith Salami is sharing. When I self-SWOT, I find out that I have lots of fears. How do I face my fears? You face them, okay? You face them. You can do a list, go to your mirror in your house, recite them back to you. They won't bite you. Okay? I am afraid of heights. You know you are afraid of heights. So what do you do to avoid that? Don't go near any tall building. Do you understand? I'm afraid of dogs. So what do you do to avoid them? You make sure before you go into anybody's house, you ask, please, are there dogs here? Do you understand what I mean? You confront your fears, okay? I'm afraid that if I get married, I will become too fat after having children. Well, it is something that happens to everyone. So you marry a man that will understand that you're not going to remain the same after having children. Do you understand? Do a list of your fears, recite them back to you, and then life goes on, okay? Nothing will happen if you confront your fears. There's a question here, how do we exhibit emotional intelligence when we have to take unpopular stands? Chinedu, unpopular stands. Emotional intelligence equips you to take unpopular stands. Have I answered your question? Okay. If you do what you're supposed to do, emotional intelligence will equip you to take unpopular. You won't be afraid. Most of the time, it's a lonely ride, okay, because you know yourself. You know how you feel when people are with you. You know how you feel when you are alone. You've come to terms with it. That's why I say, Faith, confront your fears. When you don't confront your fears, all sorts of things start to pop out. You know, office politics, psychophancy, you start to get mischievous. You surprise yourself. Okay, so confront your fears. Okay, I'm going to call one more person. We just have 9 minutes. Agunloye Emmanuel. I hope you joined at the beginning. You know, I don't know if you have any comments. And then after Agunloye, I want Selina Oshim. Selina Oshim here.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Selina, I don't know, what have you learned today? What would you like to share with us?
I'm so sorry I joined late. So
When did you join?
I've learned that for you to be able to be able to conquer your fears, you would need to list them out. So that listing will enable you know your weaknesses, know your strengths, know how to confront them in every situation you find yourself. You'll be able to do something.
All right, and I hope that works. You know, so what you've just described is a self-SWOT. You
Yes,
do
ma'am.
a self-SWOT as regularly as you take a bath or you do your hair. Okay, the more you do a
Okay, ma'am.
self-SWOT, the more aware you become of yourself. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
You're welcome. Larry, do we have time for one more person? Let me just yes, I heard somebody's voice. You want to say something? Go ahead.
Okay, that's Victor.
Okay, Victor, go ahead.
I joined early, so I want to say a very big thank you. With the comments of so much I've learned is beyond taking the SWOT a step further is, like you said, I never knew it's something one has to do very regularly. And then, but taking it further, I think I have to start documenting it as well, probably journaling, to be able to track and then also project. And maybe somewhere else it will help in appreciating the level of progress and where one needs to, particularly myself, put focus attention.
Yes.
And then I must really say it has been a wonderful hour with you. It has been probably our first meetings with you, but I'm sure the insights you've given will inspire us for a long time to come. So sincere gratitude from me.
My pleasure, Victor. I'm glad you're taking away something that will assist you. And I emphasize, do the self-SWOT as often as when you're driving, if you're in a bus, self-SWOT. If you're in church, self-SWOT, okay? You know why? Because I'll give you a little secret. Any environment you find yourself in, self-SWOT immediately, because you're being exposed to a different set of individuals, okay? So if you're in the supermarket, self-SWOT, so that you are ready, you are automatically ready for any incidental. You understand what I mean? Okay. As often as, don't
Yes,
wait
ma'am.
until you get to it. Okay. If you're in traffic, especially, self-SWOT. Okay. And you know how crazy people drive in Lagos, self-SWOT. Do you understand? So that you prepare yourself for your reactions. You find out that over
Yes, ma'am.
time, over time, you know, you become more self-aware of yourself. Okay. And once you are, your reactions will be expressed with loads of value. You understand what I mean here? I don't want to go too fast. So let me stop here and hand over to Damilari. Thank you very much, everyone, and I wish you the best for the rest of the day.
Thank you
One more
very much.
question.
Before you go, we
Yes.
have 2 questions in the chat
Okay.
section.
Okay. Let me see. More questions now. Which one, Damilari? I think I've answered all of them here. Or is
Somebody contributed, Chikalinda. Okay, are there special ways to help one think analytically and outside the box? And another person said, we also need to know our triggers, which brings about the amygdala hijack, causing us to react in very negative ways. I think that's a contribution, but Chikalinda asked the question, ma'am. Would like you to shed more light on that.
Okay, Chikalinda's question, I can't see it, so I'm trying to scroll.
Are there special ways to
Okay.
help one think analytically and
outside the box? It's pretty much tied to you, Chikalinda, okay? How you think analytically and how you think outside the box. Outside the box is tied to the situation that prompts you to think analytically, okay? And then how you thinking analytically is pretty much up to you, okay? It's a choice you make. It's not, there's no rule somewhere that, people refer to about thinking analytically. You might be stuck in traffic, okay? For instance, that's the situation now. You want to get out of the traffic, okay? You're thinking of the best way to avoid this traffic. You see what I mean by thinking analytically and then tied to the situation. So it's not something that is fixed. It's pretty much up to you. Some people might decide to stay in that traffic and follow it the whole long haul, to where they won't see any traffic. You understand what I mean? So it's tied to you. It's your choice. Whether you want to think analytically or not is up to you. It's your choice. And that is another angle of self-awareness, okay? You might decide to, you might decide not to, and that is because you have analyzed and come to terms with the fact that when I think analytically, XYZ happens. When I don't think analytically, ABC happens. Okay, so it's pretty much up to you. So I still refer you back to the beginning. You have to self-SWOT. Find out when you should, find out when you shouldn't. I know when I should think analytically, and I know when I should not. There are sometimes you think analytically and you offend people. You understand? Okay, they will say you are over processing it. You should take it lightly. You shouldn't take it too far. You understand? You see what I mean by it's tied to the person. Then there are other times they will say, is that all you have to offer? Okay, so situation and person determine when you should think outside the box and how you should think analytically. Okay. Are we okay, Damilari?
Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you everyone for participating in today's class. I'd like to announce to everyone that a more comprehensive class on emotional intelligence would start on November 4th, and it will run for 2 weeks. It's just 10,000 Naira, and I believe that we have a lot of questions, we have a lot of concerns that we've not mentioned in this class. So if you'd like to register, kindly send a mail to info@p4pe.co, info@p4pe.co. I'll share my screen so you can have a better look at the flyer. I believe we all can see this. So kindly message info@p4pe.co or call the numbers on your screen. The class will start on the 4th of November. And we'll be sharing the materials for this class, the video and the presentation slides. If you'd like to get them, please type your email address in the chat section. As soon as this class is over, we'll send the materials to you. Thank you very much, Ma. And thank you everyone once again. You can unmute yourselves and say thank you to Mrs. Boma.
Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy the
Thank
rest
you.
of the
Thank you.
day.
Thank you, dear Boma. Thank you. That was
Thank you.
Please type your email address in the chat session.
Thank you very much, Damilari. Thank you, P4PE. I am
You're welcome,
humbled.
Ma. Thank you, Ma.
And I've learned a lot too from the participants, and look forward to working with you again. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Maker. Thank you, everybody. So how did you get this thing? How did you get it? Because you are just pressing and pressing.
Please don't forget to type your email address before you leave.
I didn't know how.
I'll change the phone manager.